Hi, I'm Mario Guerra, the two-time former mayor of the great city of Downey. We have a special edition today of Talking California. So thanks for watching, thanks for listening to Talking California with Mayor Mario Guerra. So this November, this is an election year. We're right in the heart of July. The GOP convention's next week. Next month will come the Democratic convention. A lot of things in the air going, and we're going to have a special episode of Talking California about President Biden and things that are going on. But today's episode, I wanted to focus on something that just came out, our 10 ballot propositions for our election. In the November ballot, you're going to have, for president, for U.S. senator, you're going to have all kinds of local things too. But in the state of California, we do a lot of things with the ballot propositions. So this year, they are 10 ballot propositions. Some that got pulled off at the last minute with some backroom deals up in Sacramento. But look, we have $20 billion that are being proposed in bonds for climate change and for school. There's a proposal for resentencing reform for the drug crimes and retail theft. That was to reform Prop 47. There's measures to close a loophole for involuntary servitude in the California Constitution, which is basically making our prisoners that have to work. And lastly, too, there's also to raise the minimum wage in the state of California. So there's a few more things. But the state of California is alive and well and asking us for a lot of money again. Every year we feel sorry for ourselves and for, a bond for this, a bond for that. And now we have, hundreds of billions of dollars in bonds that we owe, and we don't see the benefits of it. But let me take all these things quickly. So Proposition 2 is for schools and colleges. It's going to authorize $10 billion to modernize our K-12 schools and our community colleges. And the funding can be used to repair buildings, et cetera, et cetera. So we're lucky here. If you're listening to this from Downey, we have an amazing school district. We passed 3 bonds here. There's 3 bonds on my property tax bill to fix our schools. And the last one was to fix our junior highs. So our schools are going to be in great shape. They are beautiful. So personally, it's a little disincentivized. I don't think I can't say that. But I don't have the incentive from an individual to vote for our schools for these bondings because obviously for selfish purpose, I am paying for it. And I love our Downey Unified School District. I don't think this wasn't intended for that. It was intended for that, but it's for other school districts that don't have the luxury of having good residents that are willing to tax themselves. And here in Downey also for community colleges, we passed 2 bonds for the Cerritos Community College that we're part of. I was just there recently for an event, and they're beautiful. All the buildings are absolutely beautiful. So anyways, Prop 2 is $10 billion for schools and colleges. Prop 3, it's kind of interesting. This is a little bit of a cleanup bill, and I guess that their people are just worried about this. I'm not. It removes any language in the state constitution that defines marriage is between a man or woman, and it replaces it with a kind of a broad right to marry kind of thing. I didn't think it's an issue. The Supreme Court has ruled that marriages between a man and a man or a woman are perfectly legal, and states don't regulate that. Ours doesn't. So it seemed like a lot of wasted time, but somebody's kind of worried about that, like that would be a big deal. So anyways, I don't see it, but okay, that's Prop 3, marriage between a man and woman going to right to marriage. Prop 4, so this bond authorizes another $10 billion to, by the way, and it's analyzed that it's going to cost about $70 billion when it's done because we have to pay interest all those years. So $10 billion, and it helps to fund climate-related disasters such as drought, flooding, extreme heat. It also helps ensure clean water. Okay, so I I don't know, but I kind of feel like that's what our taxes in the state for. We should be using the money to, for drought, for flooding, for extreme heat, the natural disasters. I don't know. That's another $10 billion. So we can make an argument for it, but it is what it is. So that's Prop 4. Prop 5. Prop 5 is interesting. It kind of twists things around. It makes it easier for local governments to approve bonds and tax measures that fund affordable housing and some public infrastructure. So it'll, instead of 2/3 majority of the residents to pass that, it'll go down to 55% to be able to tax yourself to make it approve bonds or tax measure. The thing that always gets me is it's kind of funny. It's put on this ballot proposition, so which only needs 50%, and then you're trying to lower it to 55. A little sneaky catch there, but that's what Prop 5 does. It'll lower the threshold required to pass bonds. So Prop 6. Okay, this is the one that'll ban involuntary servitude and in-mandatory work requirements, if you will, for state prisoners. It's kind of part of the reparations package for descendants of African Americans enslaved in the U.S. as put together by the committee in Sacramento. So it asks voters to amend the state constitution to ban involuntary servitude, which would end forced labor in prisons. And I guess I've always thought that was voluntary anyway. So I don't know. I guess I don't have an opinion against that. I don't want to make anybody do something they don't want, even our prisoners. This is going to be another controversial one, Prop 32. Prop 32 increases our California minimum wage from 16 to 18. And the key on this, it'll adjust it annually for inflation. So we can get up to a $25 an hour that we have now for our healthcare workers. We have $20 an hour for our fast food. I don't know who makes less than that because I always thought fast food was at the bottom of the rung. But anyways, it'll increase it to $18 minimum wage with increase for inflation. Again, I don't have an opinion because I haven't looked into it. But things are going up. I understand the argument that California is an expensive place to live and so forth. But then on the other hand, we've seen 500 businesses that have left Southern California and all these retail chains and restaurants and so forth because of the $25 an hour, the $20 an hour healthcare fast food minimum wage. Boy, I'm having problems today. Got my back, hurt my back on Saturday, so bear with me, okay? I'm trying to get through this. I'm on no medication. And maybe I'm just having a bad day, like President Biden said. Prop 32, two more propositions, Prop 33 and 34. So Prop 33, actually, I lied, there's four more. Prop 33, it allows the counties and the cities to enact their own different rent control. It gets rid of this thing called the Costas-Hawkins Rental Housing Act that we passed in 1995. Generally prohibits local government from limiting rental rates as issued by the landlords and everything else. So it allows the local governments to dramatically change that. We have a 5% now that we have in the state of California with cost of index. Like I own some apartment units in Huntington Park. And the interesting thing on that, I always kept it below market rate because I always wanted long-term tenants, and I had long-term tenants. But when they passed the rent control, and I went years without increasing the rents, and I was way below market price, they did it like 10 months earlier from the date that they'd passed. So I was kind of caught. I couldn't raise it even 10% to try to get close to market. So I just told my tenants every year it's going to go up 5%. Which is kind of a shame, and I'm still way below market rate. But anyways, this will allow the Costas-Hawkins Rental Housing Act to change, which it's a big deal. It's an absolutely big deal. With the cost of living going up, we already have rent control at 5%, so there's no crazy 30, 40% thing. So that's going to be Prop 33. You can bet that's going to be highly contested. Prop 34, okay, it basically It basically says that healthcare providers have to spend most of the money that they get on the federal drug discount into on direct patient care. So that's kind of a big deal. It applies only to people that have received over 100 million over a decade on anything other than patient care. So this is sponsored by the LA-based AIDS Healthcare Foundation. Was the target that did it, and I don't know about that group. It sounds good, but that group has taken on some tenuous positions in the last couple of years. So I'm always leery of that, but that's what that's going to do, Prop 34. So I'm going to take a look at that before I make any recommendations. Prop 35, it provides permanent funding for Medicare, which is California's version of Medicaid. So it pays for health care for low-income residents. So who doesn't want that, right? So right now, a tax on managed health plans that funds the program is set to expire in 2026. So I guess we're doing that now. So anyways, it spells out how tax on health providers like Anthem Blue Cross and LA Care, known as healthcare organizations, how it can be used. So that's going to be interesting, Prop 35. Prop 36 is going to be the one that I think has the most meat in any of these propositions. Do you remember Prop 47 that passed several years ago that made it not a felony under $950, unless you use a gun, and there's all these things. And a lot of people relate Prop 47 to the increase in crime, the increase in lawlessness and retail theft, because the consequences were minor. I mean, you have people that, break in or shoplift, 10 times in 20 days, and they don't get anything more for it. They're out on the street within an hour to do it again. So it aims to roll back parts of that, which a decade ago kind of made it scaled back what some of these crimes were. And this will ask our voters to turn some nonviolent felonies into misdemeanors. And that's what that Prop 47 did in 2014. This one's backed by the District Attorneys Association throughout the state of California and many law enforcement agencies and departments and the Police Chief Association, things like that. Up until the last minute, there was going to be a competing one that Governor Newsom wanted to put that was going to be less stringent than this one. But he ran out of time. The day he was doing it, he was called to the White House to talk to President Biden last week. So he basically ran out of time. So which is kind of saying something, too, that instead of backing his proposition, he looked at a national scale issue. But Prop 36 is going to be interesting, exciting. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew with some of our major propositions. I'm sorry, it's a little dull. You'll get more into it, and I'll write an article if the Patreon will let me publish it again like I do every year. One other thing that happened in the last week, 2 days ago, that the LA County Board of Supervisors voted to put this on the ballot also. LA County Board of Supervisors, one of the most powerful boards in the entire country. They're called the Five Kings, or Queens in this case, because we have five females that are in it. They're some of the most powerful politicians, and they kind of go underneath the radar, if you will. The county of Los Angeles is one of the largest counties in the country and in the world. It'd be the sixth largest state in the union just by population alone. So it's pretty impressively big. So what they voted for, instead of the five, they voted to reform this and put it on the ballot this November for us residents in LA County to vote whether we want to expand it from 5 supervisors to 9. So that would be a big philosophical change. It'll lower some of the power they have, but it's so big, you can make an argument that you have better representation that way. So it's kind of interesting. One thing I've always thought was each one has their own, they make good money. I believe it's $290,000, and they have a large staff, and they have like $3 million for discretionary funds within their district. So they are very powerful. That you have an event, it's sponsored by Supervisor so-and-so for $25,000. Well, Supervisor so-and-so didn't actually write a check. It comes from you and me, our taxpayers, but they get all the credit, and that's kind of like how they represent 30 different cities, and they make sure they have representation there. But I mean, hey, listen, here in our city, if they're going to give out the money, we'll take it. We have a lot of great nonprofits here. As part of putting it on the ballot for us, it'll also elect a new county executive, which is kind of like the city manager, if you will. And right now they hire them, that person. So this will make it that it'll be directly elected. I don't know about that. That seems like you're making this a political position. It doesn't seem like a good idea. I kind of like it that the supervisors can fire their city manager just like the city council can fire a city manager instead of having elected. You saw what happened with Sheriff Villanueva when he was bucking them last year as an elected official. They really couldn't, in that last year, the last couple of years, they really couldn't do anything. They really couldn't do, the only thing they could play with was the budget. So I don't know about that part of it on there, but the other thing that I thought was pretty good is that all the department heads will be putting their budgets before them publicly to discuss their budgets. Right now, they kind of do it in these backroom deals. And I shouldn't say that. They do it not transparently, not open. They just present the final budget at the end. But the process is what's really important and should be transparent. So anyways, that's LA County is going to be on the ballot. You're going to have locally in the city of Downey, you're going to have some propositions or some measures to vote on. You're going to have 3 local elected officials running for re-election. So a lot of stuff going on. I'm going to do a special analysis in a couple minutes too about what's going on with President Biden and President Trump and all the latest that's happening. President Biden seems to be in trouble for a lot of different things when this morning some of the big donors, Democratic donors, have come out against it. So watch my opinions. I try to stay away from opinions on a national level, but this is just too important not to at least have the discussion. So anyway, so these are the propositions. Was just approved last Wednesday, right before the 4th of July. So there'll be more about it coming up. Just wanted to give you a heads up on the 10 ballot propositions. So feel free to give me a call, 562-706-4114, 562-706-4114, or email me at mario@guerrains.com. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for staying involved and tuning in. And I welcome your comments or your suggestions. Take care. Have a great day.